Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of DinglesWorld. I am the Mr. Dingle, and today I've come to talk to you about a different game, not Fortnite this time. As you may have noticed, I put up a recent Fortnite review video for those out there that have not opened up Fortnite and played it for the first time. I gave you my opinion of the game, kind of breaking down all the different elements, having played 20, 30 hours, honestly, of gameplay. And, I'm going to do the same for PubG today. And I've played about the same amount for PubG, about 30 hours. I played in both the mobile as well as the PC version. And today we're going to talk about the PC version because I do strongly believe that the PC version and the mobile version are two very different games. And I would give two very different reviews. But today we're going to focus on the PC, and I'm going to try and break down the different areas of the game that I thought were strong, or maybe give some suggestions on areas that I think could be improved, and just to kind of give you an overall opinion of the game. It does cost money to play, so for those that are on the fence about whether or not they're willing to drop the cash, hopefully this review will give you the information you need to make that decision. Or at least make a more informed decision. So let's just go ahead and get down to it. While I do believe that Fortnite, to compare and contrast, Realm Royale or Royale style games, I do believe Fortnite was a little bit better. I do give PUBG an overall a 8 out of 10, which is actually still a very high score. There's a couple areas where I feel they made some very dire and grave mistakes. I know that there's a huge fan following for this game. A lot of people play it. A lot of people love it, and rightfully so, because the game is very polished and very good at what it does. But the PC version in particular has one fatal flaw, in my opinion, and I'll get to that later. But let's talk about some of the other areas, that make up the score. First of all, let's talk about the gameplay. Unlike games like Fortnite and Realm Royale, which are very cartoony, PUBG is the opposite. PUBG is hyper realistic. It's a very, very beautiful game. The sky is beautiful. The open worlds are beautiful. Everything is high res. All the vehicles, all the weapons, all the characters and their clothings. The game is just gorgeous. And if you have a high-end machine, you're gonna not be disappointed, because the game really is beautiful, and they did a great job, and really having that visual impact that most PC gamers are looking for. So hats off to the development team for really making that happen. When I say that it looks good, and that it's a realistic style game, there's a lot of realism that goes with it as well. For instance, all the weapons are very realistic. They have very realistic physics. The vehicles are very different and very realistic and have their own physics as well. There's a lot of urban cities. There's a lot of lush jungles and deserts and mountains. A lot of verticality, so you can go from, flat deserts to high mountainous regions and multi-story buildings and bridges and things of that nature. So there's a lot of verticality in the game as well, which is really nice. But again, it is a Royale style game. You got the fog, you got 100 people, you're all fighting it out to get that last man standing. Some games it's a Royale. Some games it's a chicken dinner. This happens to be the chicken dinner. You're always looking for the chicken dinner, which I have to admit, the winna chicken dinner theme, is absolutely brilliant, because there is no ending, especially when you're talking about streaming, to just the wonderful things that you can say about winna chicken dinner. So, and I love it. I think that's brilliant. And so you are battling for the ultimate chicken dinner at the end of the game. But again, the mechanics are the same. You still got the fog or the storm or whatever it is. The storm in this game is really weak. It's just, you can look at it on the mini map. It hits you. You take damage. is invisible damage, and then you just die, just like all the other Royale-based games. The gameplay in this is very different, though, because since you have a hyper-realistic gameplay mechanics, that causes the game to be both fast and slow-paced combat. And what I mean by that is when you're in close quarters, when you're in buildings, or when you're in, tight city or rural environments, then you have this very, very twitchy combat, so everybody flips the fully auto. You got the shotgun, you got the fully auto, you got the machine guns, and the blah blah blah, and you turn the corner, and there's this who can point at the head and pull the trigger the fastest. I just don't know why it's never me, but nevertheless, I have had more success in PUBG than I have in Fortnite. I'll just be honest. It's less twitchy than Fortnite, so I appreciate it for that. So, however, the people that are the players that are in PUBG are very polished, and they're very good. And for those noobs like myself that just drop in for the first time, that were a little late to the party, there is a gigantic learning curve. And it's not that things are hard to figure out. It's just that the players know where everything is, and they know what the best weapons are. They know what the recoil and the bullet drops and the covers, that it's the best. So you're really playing against skilled players that know how to murder you. You just right out the gate. So for those new players out there, you're just gonna get your ass handed to you until you can kind of get going a little bit. I recommend for those people that struggled, one of the things that I did is I played the mobile version first, and the mobile version is not as hard. I don't know if it's because of the mechanics, or people just aren't used to fighting on their phones, and the screens are smaller, and you don't got your keyboard and mouse with your precision laser point, accuracy. I don't know what it is. But it's the same game on the phone, and it's just a little easier. And what that does is it gives you the ability to really kind of familiarize yourself with the different weapons, while the weapon physics are greatly dumbed down on the mobile version, which is part of the way it makes it easier. The maps are the same, so you get to familiarize yourself with the maps. Well, mostly the same. And they're granted that not the mobile version doesn't have all the maps, but you get what I'm saying. You get familiar with many of the mechanics, and then when you drop back into the PC version, you have a much easier time. And the mobile version's free. So just a little tip and trick that I'm going to throw at you. What helped me, maybe not help you, but either way, I know you'll have fun with the mobile version, so there's nothing lost there. So, we talked about the graphics, but one point I wanted to make was because the graphics are so good and everything's so high res, you're probably going to need to meet the minimum requirements for the game. You're not going to be able to sneak by with, some POS computer that maybe played World of Warcraft, or, if on the lowest settings it plays Fortnite. You're probably not going to get PUBG to run on it because of the demands of the renderer and on the graphics cards in general. So you're going to need to make sure that you're playing on something that is somewhat comparable. Because again, the people that you're going to be playing up against, they are playing on high-end machines at max resolution, and they don't skip a frame. So, if you're chugging along, your experience is going to suffer. I can pretty much guarantee that. So, try and make sure that if you're going to get this game, that you make sure that you have a good computer to run it. You're going to need it. It's my tip to you. So if you are questionable on whether or not you meet the minimum requirements, make sure you check the minimum requirements against your PC, and make sure you're at least a little bit above that, so that way you don't end up making a purchase that you regret. The weapons in this game, again, for all Royale style games, it seems to be the case, but you have very atypical style weapons. You have your pistols, you have your submachine guns, you have your shotguns, you have your assault rifles, you have your sniper rifles, you have your light machine guns. Yes, we've heard this song and dance before. I've danced this dance many times. I'm very familiar with these kinds of weapons. However, one thing PUBG does really well is that there's a variety within these categories. And this is where it gets tricky, because sometimes you'll get the AK-47, which is called the AKM, and then you'll get this other, which is like, okay, I know this gun. I've watched many movies with an AK-47. It uses a 7.62 round. It's usually armor piercing, and it's a big, bad mamma jamma that has a lot of recoil, but, at close ranges, you're going to rip people up. And you know what? If you thought that, you're probably right. However, you flop over to some of the other weapons, and they look amazing. And you're just like, I am such a badass with this machine gun. This gun was designed by God himself. I will own everyone. And then you get on the battlefield, and you're like, God, this fucking gun is terrible. Which has been my experience. So, it's sometimes the old faithfuls are the old faithfuls for a reason. And so, but you get this gun and you're like, whoa, it's amazing, and it sucks. Or maybe my expectations were too high and I was trying to make it do things that it's really not known for doing well. And you know what I bet you if I was in the military and I had used these guns before, they're probably pretty accurate. And the problem is that it looks really good, but what I think the gun should fire like and what the gun actually fire likes are like two very different things. And so it's just my expectations are not meeting the actual, realistic, firing styles. So, nevertheless, though, a lot of really cool different weapons within those categories. So a lot of different kinds of pistols, a lot of ARs out there. Shotguns still remain pretty fucking useless at all times. So, unless someone's right up, on your ass and you happen to be pointing in the right direction and then you pull the trigger, you'll kill them one shot. But outside of that, those guns are fucking pointless. Don't use them. I would rather use a pistol. So, again, sniper rifles, strong. But the thing that you need to remember is that in this game, because we're talking about realism, we got a lot of really just deadly physics, weapon physics. So the recoil, man, you better burst that AK-47 or you're going to be shooting the clouds and you're going to be shooting the gophers and you're going to be shooting your grandma and you're going to be drawing pictures in the sky with your gun while you're holding down that trigger. It is all over the place. So you got to ba-ba-ba. And that's how you got to fire with most guns in the game. So if not, that recoil is just going to get away from you and you're not going to hit anything and you're going to die. And always make sure you aim for the head. But the thing that I struggled with the most, but you get used to it, once you learn to expect it and you've played around with a variety of different guns and maybe you found the gun that, that meets your expectations or is something that you can at least use comfortably. At that point, you have to start thinking about bullet drop. You put this 6x scope on your gun. Like, for instance, the SCAR. I love the SCAR. Most games that I play that have a SCAR, I go straight for the SCAR. Why? Because the SCAR is a badass weapon. And usually, no matter what game you're playing, it never ceases to fail you. It is the motherfucking SCAR. You gotta love it. Well, in this game, you put that 6x scope on and you're like, I'm going to use the SCAR. It's both a sniper rifle, it's both a shotgun, it's both I will use it in close range, I will use it in far range, I will take satellites out of orbit with my SCAR. That's really not true. You put a 6x scope on the SCAR and you're having to point at the satellites to actually hit somebody, at a sniper rifle range with your SCAR. So, you're going to get a tremendous amount of bullet drop. While you're not, calculating for wind and all that crap, you're going to get some bullet drop. So, I was in the battle today where there was a guy that was, at max range on my 6x scope, and I was probably, I was having to do a pretty healthy lead above him in order to be able to drop that bullet. And don't forget, you also have your breath too, so your breath is causing a little bit of sway. So when you got that bullet drop where you're aiming into the heavens to shoot that dude that's on the other hillside, you're not going to be able to pop. Why? Because your breath is putting that little gentle sway in there, and then you're not hitting the same spot every time. So at least, thank God, no one's building walls in front of you. So, again, weapons have realistic physics, but you also can, if you have deep pockets, be able to get some skins for it, and then add a little variety to your weapons and make them look a little pretty and shiny. The nice thing about the weapons is, outside, each weapon has attachments. So you can have different suppressors on there, or quick magazines, or scopes, or muzzle brakes, or different stocks, or forward grips. And all these things will actually transform the weapons into something that is, moderately good to really, really good. So weapons, little submachine guns that you wouldn't normally use, when you get all the attachments for it with the silencer and the forward grip and the extended clip and the stock, it just transforms it into just a badass mamma jamma. So the attachments are really nice as well, because it really does have a dramatic effect on the weapons. Adds more things to collect out there in the world, and when you do finally fully modify the weapons that you have, you can turn something that's moderately effective into something that's hugely effective. So I do have a little list of things that I would like to have seen, but I'm going to take that at the end, the wish list items, as well as some of the things that I think I didn't like. But right now we're going to stick to things that they do well and that you can expect in the game. Next, vehicles! Oh, finally we can drive around and even run people over. I mean, come on. That's what you expect, and there's nothing more gratifying than someone trying to stand up and shoot you in your car and you run them the fuck over. That's a pretty nice feeling. However, on the flip side, when it's down to you and the last 10 people and you're like prone and you got your ghillie suit on, which, by the way, the ghillie suit, I fucking hate the ghillie suit. I think they need to take that goddamn thing out of the game. Nevertheless, we'll talk about that later. When you're laying down and you're like, oh, I'm going to get me my chicken dinner, and half the people are driving cars around trying to run over the remaining people, it gets really fucking obnoxious. So there is gas consumption in each of the vehicles, and you can find gas cans throughout the world to fill up the tank. However, no one does that, and you'll just sooner run out of gas and go find another car than you are to go look for a gas can to fill up your tank. But nevertheless, I've never run out of gas when I didn't want to, when I wanted to be using the car. So it's like, it's really, the gas consumption is so small that, you don't really need to, and if you drive the car that much, then just drive to another car and get out and take that car. Why would you go look for a gas can? It doesn't make sense. Nevertheless, there's a variety of different vehicles in there. There's a dune buggy. There's a convertible sports car, not in the mobile, so that is one thing the PC's got going for it. And Jeeps, trucks, so there is some different vehicles. And then they got, and I don't know why, but then there's the VW bus. I don't care what war zone I'm in. I don't care where I'm at. The VW bus is a terrible option. It's a terrible vehicle in real life. Sure, it looks nice, it's cool, it's collectible. It's slow as shit. It doesn't climb at all. It's like a toaster on wheels, and it drives like a toaster on wheels. And you look kind of ridiculous driving a VW bus around a war zone, So while it may carry, 3 or 4 of your friends, it's going to do it slowly, and you're more likely to get shot in the VW bus than you are to outrun any bullets. So, nevertheless, it's in the game. Pick your color. All the vehicles have different physics. So the dune buggy is just, what do you want to climb? The dune buggy is just fun. You're hitting the hills, you're jumping over bumps, and it drives like you would expect a dune buggy to drive. However, the Jeep doesn't drive like you would expect a Jeep to drive. It's a motherfucking Jeep, or like our Land Rover style Jeep, whatever kind of Jeep it is. You would expect it to be, it's a Jeep, man. Jeeps are like, if there isn't anything more off-road iconic, it's a frickin' Jeep. But the Jeep is not very off-road. It is off-roady, but it's not It's not like dune buggy off-roady. I mean, I guess we're not looking. I guess they didn't modify it like a rock crawler, but maybe I expected the Jeep to be a little bit more of a performer. And then it's got the Bronco truck, and the Bronco truck actually outperforms the Jeep, which is kind of surprising. Nevertheless, a lot of different physics. You know, some cars are faster, some cars are more durable, some cars are better on off-road, some cars, you know, are just novelty. And then there's the motorcycle, which is so much fun to drive, but it is like very easy to crash and kill yourself. So, you know, and then there is the motorcycle with the sidecar, and so it's kind of cool. So the cars in the game dig it. With how big and expansive the worlds are, you kind of need vehicles, and they're sprinkled everywhere. So if you need a vehicle, you're often going to find one, and so that is a really nice feature of the game. So, and again, to kind of pull back, we've talked about some of the gameplay, we talked about the weapons, we've talked about the vehicles, we've talked about the physics and all that good stuff, but what we haven't talked about is the worlds. So there's 3 maps. There's, pardon my pronouncing these, I don't know why they can't just use, you know, names that are easier to pronounce, but then there's Erangel, Miramar, and Sanhok. So one of these maps, I can't remember because I'm looking at the names right now and not actually the map, is not available on the mobile yet, although I do believe it is currently going to be put in there soon, so hooray for that. But all these maps are really good. They're very, very, very different. So one is going to be a jungle-y map, very like a Vietnam-style map. The other one's going to be a desert map, like an Arizona-style map. And then one of them is going to be kind of like a blending of two, where, you know, you got trees and you got a lot of wide open spaces, and so it's kind of like a blending of the two. So what does that mean? So you have your jungle, which means you have a ton of cover, and there's bushes and trees and shit to hide in everywhere, which makes the gameplay so slow, because you gotta like crawl around and like walk like every person's under every leaf, and they usually are, and 9 times out of 10 you don't know someone's there until they start shooting at you, you know. And so it's like that's a very slow game in that map, because there's so many places to hide and there's so much cover that and you oftentimes have no idea, because there's suppressors and stuff like that. You have no idea where you're getting shot from, so it's just escaping, you know. And so and not to mention you have all those expert gamers out there that, you know, can just shoot you in the eyeball from, you know, from a different map, you know. So it's just, you got a lot of work. So I would say that the jungle one, while fun and you do have a lot of options to hide, it's a much slower gameplay. If you're looking for something a little faster, you can have the desert, and the desert's very wide open, not a lot of places to hide. I mean, you do have buildings and the such, but not a lot of bushes and trees and all those little nooks and crannies to hide in, but you do have like mountain ranges and cliff sides, and so it's a really great sniper map, you know. So a lot of really great places to sit with a sniper rifle and just shoot people from a million miles away if you are the master of the bullet drop. And then, of course, the other map, which is kind of a blending of the two, which is kind of the everyday map, which, you know, no matter, you know, what your flavor, you know, you're probably going to end up liking that map. So, again, a lot of verticality, a lot of like 3-story buildings, a lot of cliffs, a lot of mountains. Each map has its own very different play style, and so, you know, and tons of cover. So, you know, really the get in there and find out which one you like. Maybe you like all of them. Maybe you only like one of them. Find out which one works for you. Those new players really kind of like spend some time and don't just play every map, but try and find one that you really, you know, gel with, and stick with that one for a while, where you're learning the gameplay and mechanics, you know. And so that way, once you kind of become comfortable with the different weapons and the physics and the vehicles and all that stuff, then spread out into some of the other maps, and then you'll notice that you'll have a lot easier time doing it. So again, a lot of long shots, a lot of corridor, close combat fighting, a lot of medium range, so it's good stuff. Now to kind of, well, we'll talk about this for a second. So now player customization. So in player customization, there's a variety of different things that you can change on your character, from basically all your clothes. So your hats, your masks, your glasses, your parachutes, your shoes, your pants, your shirts, your jackets, and add all the different skins that you can put on your character, on your guns. So there's a lot of different customization that you can do for your character if you have deep pockets. More on that in a second. And lastly, the thing I wanted to touch on was custom matches. So this is an open beta mechanic right now. So these are modes that they're still currently being worked on. The game as a whole is still being worked on, so there's still a lot of opportunity for some of the negatives to turn into positives. But there's a human versus zombie mode where there's you have 10, 15 humans, and then you have 30, 40 zombies. Kind of figure out how that goes. There's a normal mode. Not sure the difference between normal mode and when you just hit play at the main screen. I kind of feel like it's the same thing. There's a war mode, which is essentially a smaller map, and it's basically deathmatch where you die and you respawn, and there's a kill counter, and so the team that finally reaches their quota wins, and then you die, you respawn, die, respawn, die, respawn. It's war mode, and then. There's a esports mode, which any up and coming esport moders out there, you want to be a PubG, esporter. This is going to be the mode for you. What does that mean? It's just like normal, except the only difference is it has specific competitive esport rules. Now, I'm not going to get into that because we're talking about a very small subsection of people that are going to want to play this mode. These are really the people that are really going to want to be competitive. And so if you're looking to be competitive, there's way more you need to learn than what I can teach you in this. So just kind of go in there and check it out. So, and those are the different modes. And in a nutshell, that's pretty much PUBG. Now, there is a few things that I told you at the beginning that I gave this game an 8 for a reason. And there are some negatives that I want to get over. I need to voice this. I need to get it off my chest. And let me make it very clear. What I'm about to say does not translate to the mobile version because the mobile version is a different game. I paid money for PUBG. Okay, I shelled out, was it $29, $19? I don't remember. But nevertheless, I paid money, $19. I paid money up front for PUBG. Okay, while I didn't pay $56 for PUBG, I still shelled out money up front. Fortnite, great game. A lot of just free stuff that you can get just for playing. And a lot of, and really, that's what makes me want to buy things, is because I have all these cool skins and these cool, weapon skin, or these cool character skins and backpacks and, pickaxes. But then I see the other stuff people are wearing, and then it makes me want to, kind of expand my wardrobe. That's what does it, I have a real problem with games that make you pay a fairly substantial fee up front and then make you pay for any kind of player customization in game. And when I mean any kind of player customization in game, I mean any. So the whole system works is that you get in game, and when you buy into the game, you buy the game, you download it, and every time you win or lose or kill people, you get BP, which are basically, it's like currency. And then you can buy crates, and these crates that you buy with the currency that you get from playing the game will give you clothing unlocks. However, here's the kicker. Every crate that you buy in PUBG on the PC is going to require you to purchase with real money a key to open it. Okay, herein lies the problem. So any real customization that you're going to want to have on your player, and you see all the people wearing different hats or glasses, or you spend $7,000, which is a considerable amount of BP and a considerable amount of gameplay in order to get that BP. So you're really investing a lot of gameplay time into purchasing this random loot crate. At which point you need to pull out your wallet and shell out $2 to buy a key to open it in order to get the random item in the crate. Whoa, hold on, folks. You mean I bought a game and now, as is the case with any game I play, I want my player to look and feel like a badass. I may or may not be a badass, but my player should never represent how I am. So my player should always look like a badass, whether or not I am one or not. And I should be the time I invest in a game, I should be able to reflect that on my character without having to shell out money every single time I want to change my hat. Now, if I'm going to buy for $2, a key, I better be able to choose what the hell I want out of that crate. Nope. You're going to spend $2 and you're going to get a crate, and then they're going to tell you what you're going to get. And so that's one gripe, okay? So, we get that out of the way. The second gripe is that the game being a hyper-realistic game, all of the clothes are regular-looking clothes. So you got your polo shirt with stripes, you got your long sleeve shirt, maybe you got, a rebel leather jacket, or maybe gloves with spikes on it, or maybe some nasty blue running shoes, or, some boots. There's no real style. I mean, you could buy, there's full outfits that you can buy, that are like military outfits, but they're not like special ops outfits. They're like, the dress outfits, or, there really is no, everybody looks stupid. Everybody looks goofy. All the clothes is terrible. The outfits look dumb. And you know what? I don't even want to, you're going to require me to spend money to get any of this stuff. Well, you know what? I don't even want any of this stuff. It looks terrible. So I don't know who made the decision to make all the clothing look like something out of my own damn closet. Actually, no. I wouldn't wear any of that stuff anyways. Maybe out of somebody else's closet. Maybe some millennial's closet. But not my closet. But nevertheless, big miss there. So they missed on having to buy any kind of customization for your character. And then they missed on the fact that there's really no unique or badass, outfits that you could buy. Like a badass, special operations outfit, or, some kind of night vision goggle that look, maybe they don't even function, but they just look cool, or maybe like a black, special, cool combat fatigues. I don't know. No. You get blue jeans. You get some shorts, or a or a dirty tank top. Come on, guys, let's work with me here. So, that for me were the two biggest items that took this from a 9 to an 8, because I really feel like they ask you for money up front, and then when you get into the game, the monetization inside of the game doesn't make sense. It doesn't give you any. You don't get any kind of clothing unlocks that start your wardrobe. Because I want to start my wardrobe and then be like, oh, you know what? I want to add some of these special items to the wardrobe. Fortnite does a really good job at that. Fortnite, you get a bunch of default clothes, and then you're walking around, but they're really nice stuff, really cool suits. And you're walking around, and you're like, yeah, I look good. But then you see a lot of other people have the same suits. You're still looking good, but everybody else is looking good too in the same suits. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to expand my wardrobe and get one of these special, outfits. I'm going to pay some money for it, but, I want my wardrobe to have a little flair to it, a little customization that not everybody has. And then I'll add clothes to my wardrobe that I pay for to kind of, give that flair, that personality that I want for my character. There's none of that in this game. None of that. So I think you'll be fairly disappointed. So, some other ideas that I think would be help, in making this game kind of take off and be a little cooler in the long run, is some wish list ideas that I want to throw at you. I'd love to see, with the weapons be expanded on a little bit. Now, I know there's a lot of variety in weapons, but come on, man, everybody loves explosives. Why not have an RPG? Make them hard to find. Make it realistic RPG physics, all right? So it's actually difficult to use. C4. What about a grenade launcher? And you know what? Let's say it's not a grenade launcher. It doesn't work like a grenade launcher. What if it just throws smoke? And so you have a grenade launcher that shoots smoke. And so that way, when someone's beating on you, you can shoot smoke at them or out on the battlefield as a distraction, or, to kind of, blow like if you're going to go into an area, you can take a grenade launcher and you can shoot 4 or 5 rounds and really smoke out an area so that way you can get through without getting lit up by somebody. What about claymores? A lot of times, especially in that building combat, I'd love to throw a claymore out there. So that way, someone's sneaking around or comes up behind me when I'm trying to, snipe from my perch. Boom, they get blown up. Or how about no claymores? Let's just say a tripwire that's got cans on it. So that way, when I'm on a rooftop or when I'm in a perch somewhere and I'm sniping, or maybe I'm not sniping, maybe I just got an assault rifle and I'm just kind of like trying to, I'm in a very tight space. The storm's closing in on me and I don't have a lot of places to move, but there's like a couple doorways. What if I put up a little can near one, so that way I know when someone comes in, and so that way I can defend myself rather than getting snuck up on and shot. Always having to watch every freaking side. But that'd be cool. What about a zipline gun? What about, so there's a lot of times there's areas where when the storm's rolling in, where, people are trying to run from the storm, but then the storm is circling around like a city. And the city is really heavily fortified. There's a lot of people in the city, and they're really defending the city well. Well, I'd love to have a zip line. I could boom, I could shoot. I could be on a mountaintop or on a building, and I could go from one building to the other with a zip line, with a zip line gun. And so that way I can change positions if I'm being, pinned down, or if I got a sniper that has me like locked up behind, on a rooftop or behind a tree. I can change positions relatively quickly. Or better yet, if I'm on a rooftop, many times the storm comes and you're on a rooftop, you can't just jump off the rooftop because you'll die from fall damage. What about being able to rappel down the side of the building? Be able to throw a rope down the side of the building. Maybe you find a rope. It's one of the things that you can carry. You have a rope, and then you freaking throw it off the side of the building, and you can rappel down the side of the building rather than having to circumnavigate into the building to get down so you don't kill yourself jumping over the side when the storm came over. So, another really great idea. I'd love to see things like, to kind of build off that with the cities, when you have fortified cities, when, you're either pinned down from the outside with snipers, or when you're trying to penetrate into the city, what about some sewers, some below ground, so that way I can sneak into the city without having to worry about, having to run across an open field and pray, please, oh, please, please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please don't die, please, oh, shoot me, please, oh, please, shoot me. I can't tell you how many times I squeezed my butt cheeks and ran across an open field praying I don't get shot. What about some sewers? What about I jump into a sewer and I can kind of, skip that open area and kind of pop up in the middle of the city, and I don't have to worry about, praying to God that there aren't 4 people watching that open field. How about some foxholes? Some areas, maybe in those open fields, there's areas where you can hop down into some holes, some fortified holes, so that way you can jump from hole to hole to hole rather than having to just run and pray. Personally, I think those are some of the really cool things that they could do. I'd love to see a little bit more verticality, maybe like some. We all seen them in our cities and towns, those huge power lines. They're even in the game. Those big power line towers. What about being able to, or like the water towers? I'd love to be able to climb up and use them as a perch. I'd love to be able to climb a ladder up, and get to some of those vertical places, on top of a water tower, on top of a power line, and use that as sniper locations. Well, the single most important wish list item, period, is fire the art director and put in somebody that will change the outfits and attire, keep the realism, but make it look interesting. Make the outfits interesting. Make the outfits something that, are cool. You want me to spend money on God in every kind of outfit? At least make the outfits look cool enough to where it would warrant me wanting to do that, especially if you're the one that's going to decide what I get from each crate. I should be happy. I should be like, all right, I'm going to open this crate. And I don't care what I get. All the shit looks cool. Instead, you're like, oh my God, there's 12 items I can get, and I just want the weapon skin because all the clothes look stupid. You know, it's like, so I'm not gonna open up the crate and just be like, oh, I got the stupid bandana that makes me look like Pirate McStupid. You know, it's like, you know, if you're gonna, you know, go that route, cool. Let's go ahead and add some creative variety there. But all in all, don't want to end on too many negatives. I'm gonna go ahead and just let you know this game is amazing. PUBG, fantastic. While I do have some concerns, they can very easily be fixed. You know, with a couple just outfit changes and a change in direction on the style of clothings, you know, and a few tweaks and tunes here and there, this game could be a 10 without question. But as it stands now, the Mr. Dingle calls it an 8. But you know what? An 8 is a damn good game. And let me tell you what, from the Mr. Dingle, I would suggest that at $19, this is a great buy for anyone to try. You know, so I think it's a pretty safe bet that, you know, as long as your expectations are set correctly, then I think that this is going to be a good buy for you. You're going to really enjoy it. It's a game that a lot of people out there really enjoy. It's got a great community. There's a lot of memes and a lot of meme websites out there which follow it. Because why? Because rightfully so. The game is very polished and very beautiful. And when I nitpick, I only nitpick because I want to see this game a 10. You know, I don't want it to be an 8. I want it to be a 10, and it can, because it's a damn fucking good game. So, Dingle gives it an 8, and I recommend to you that you pick it up. You will not be disappointed. So, that's it for the Dingle and the review of PUBG. I will be reviewing the PUBG Mobile in the very near future because while there's a lot of similarities, there's a lot of differences as well, and I do think that it warrants its own review. So let me know what you think about this review. Also, if you're following on Twitch, go ahead and hit the follow button. If you're watching this on YouTube and you like it, we are growing our community, so please, please, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that notification button to let you know whenever we put new videos up. Again, we're trying to grow our community, so we'll make the content, you guys push the buttons, and together we will rule the world. Much love, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.